Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel. So for this video, we're going to be talking about the Tissot PRX and one of their latest color options that became available this year. That's this one here with the beautiful ice blue dial. And I actually picked up this watch just before the holidays. One of my local ADs was having a Christmas party, and they happened to have a few of these new color options for the PRX in stock. And I was really impressed once I got it in the hand. And I'll have to admit that I quickly dismissed the Tissot PRX when it was first released a couple of years ago. To me, at the time, I just thought it was feeding into that integrated bracelet sports watch craze, and the silhouette of this watch even looked very much like a royal oak, so I thought it was a bit of too much of a homage. Although that being said, of course, Tissot does have their own heritage behind the PRX design. And after having this watch for about a month, I have to say I'm really impressed with the fit and finish for this particular timepiece. So why don't we flip perspectives now, and you guys can take a close-up look at the Tissot PRX with the ice blue dial in the studio. Alright, so let's get this Tissot PRX with the ice blue dial in the hand. And for the review portion of this video, I'm really just going to focus on the things that I really liked and kind of surprised me. And then I'll even mention some potential points for improvement. But right away, the thing that I like a lot is that this is a sub $1,000 watch. The retail on this piece is 975 Canadian dollars. And there are likely discounts to be had. Especially if you consider the gray or used market, you can get it for much lower than retail right now. And before going too much into detail, let me give you the dimensions of this timepiece, just so you get an understanding of how this watch might wear for you. You do have a 40mm case diameter, and then if I flip this timepiece to the side, lug-to-lug distance is about 44.5mm. But if you include the first link on the integrated bracelet on each side, it effectively extends the overall length to 50mm, although you can see that it does curve down to hug the wrist quite well. In terms of height, it's only 11.2mm, and that's measuring from the sapphire crystal on the back, which is a display window for the movement, and then to the top of a slightly chamfered and then flat sapphire crystal on the top side, giving view of this beautiful ice blue waffle pattern dial. Now for the bracelet itself, it's about 27mm in width at the head of the watch, and then has a very nice taper down to 18mm when you get to the Tissot signed butterfly deploying clasp. Now typically not a fan of butterfly clasp, but I can see how well it just integrates and keeps the pieces of the bracelet seamlessly together. And I will say it's actually constructed fairly well. You do have to actuate both of these triggers precisely in order to release the clasp for this watch. And here's a quick in-studio wrist shot, just to show you how well this watch will wear on a 19cm circumference wrist. And just take a look at the light play on the bracelet. It's really cool. And even looking down the barrel, you can see that this watch conforms very well to the wrist. In terms of overall weight, I get 136 grams when the bracelet is sized up for my wrist. But of course, they even offer OEM strap options. There's like a rubber and leather strap options if you wanted to lighten the load a little bit and change up the look of the PRX. Alright, so let's talk about some of the things that surprised me. I was actually very surprised by the comfort of this watch. I didn't think the butterfly deployment was going to work well for my wrist because the underside of this clasp tends to pinch the underside of my arm and pull hair. This watch did not do that. Even though there is no micro adjustments, you do have half links for sizing the bracelet for a good fit. And these links are just held in place by split collar pins. So they're friction fitted pins, and you just push them out the way the arrow on the underside of links will tell you to do, and then you push them back in. Overall, it's a pretty solid bracelet, which again, pretty surprising. And then if you do take a look at the back of the bracelet, you can see that there's twin trigger quick release system that's in place here. So you can quickly swap out the bracelet for an OEM leather or rubber strap option. And while we're showing off the back side of the watch, take a look at the Powermatic 80 movement. This is another feature that I really enjoy considering the price point. And it's something that Swatch offers to not only Tissot, which is under the Swatch Group umbrella, but other brands like Rado, Mito, and Hamilton. And if you look really closely, you can see that the architecture around the plates and screws look very much like a base ETA 2824-2. And what they did is they slowed down the beat frequency from 4 Hz to 3 Hz to extend the power reserve to 80 hours. So I'm going to take that trade-off all day. And then you can also see that the oscillating weight is customized with Tissot branding on it as well. Now flipping over to the dial side, this is the area that probably surprised me the most. I really was impressed by how well finished this watch is for being sub $1,000. Starting off with the texture, that beautiful waffle pattern on the dial, it's very intricate, and if you take a look at a macro level, there's actually some radial brushing that's done on each individual rectangle. And then as you move the dial around in the sunlight or in other lighting conditions, it almost has a sunburst effect to it. And you get different hues of light blue to even like an opaline color under certain conditions. Another really nice feature is the applied hour markers, which are highly faceted batons, and then you have a double baton at the 12 o'clock position for orientation. And you also have a very nicely framed date aperture at the 3 o'clock position, also highly faceted and reflective with the light. And even the handset itself are almost very much like batons in their orientation, but what you do have is some really fine details for each of the hands. Both the hour and minute hand have strips of BGW9 Swiss Super Luminova running through the tips of them, and then the portions of the hands closer to the pinion that aren't actually filled with lume are nicely horizontally brushed. And that's a really cool feature as well. And then you have a very fine needle seconds hand, and the hands and the markers themselves do reflect light, but then when it comes to low light legibility, you do have lume plots on the hour markers as well as the hands. And I will say it's not the strongest lume in the world. It actually glows a little bit stronger on the hands, but it's enough to give you orientation at a glance. Now the case and bracelet are both 316L surgical stainless steel, but they are also very nicely finished for the price point. The bezel has a nice polish at the tops, and then flipping it to the side, you have some brushwork that's done, as well as some fine horizontal brushing on the sides of the case. The crown is nicely signed with a T for Tissot, and it's a non-screw down crown, but you're still afforded 100 meters of water resistance, which is great for a sports watch. Now, if I'm going to be critical, I will say that the size of the crown is fairly small for my sausagey-like fingers, so that could be a potential point for improvement. And also, the lume isn't the strongest in the world, and I'd love to see them up the potency of a lume for future iterations of this watch as well. But at the end of the day, I was very impressed with the comfort and finishing of the Tissot PRX. It really did exceed my expectations, and now you're getting different cool color options that have become available, and even smaller sizes. I think they released 35mm diameter PRXs as well. So if you have a smaller wrist, or you're looking even something more unisex that would fit a woman as well, those are really good options. And I will say that this watch actually has the distinction of being noticed by a total stranger on my wrist when they came up to my house and tried to sell me some home improvement services. That's something that often doesn't happen. People don't typically recognize my wristwatch. Even though it was dark outside, this guy, I guess, was a budding watch enthusiast and was able to pick up on the fact that I had a PRX. Now, if you guys did enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It really does help me out a lot. And as always, I can't wait to catch you guys in the next video.